got out of the military, I had read every horror story about transitioning. I knew people that had bad transitions. So when I was in TAP, I went to TAP and I took every note I could, took down everybody's phone number, email address, things I didn't even, I was like, is this important? I did not want to end up another statistic. Be that a homeless veteran, be, suicide, whatever. I'm looking at the base in my rearview mirror, like a scene out of a movie. Literally, it's in my rearview mirror, and I am going, oh my God, what did I just do? During that class, during lunchtime, the instructors would all roll and train jiu-jitsu, actually. And there was one guy that was taking the class, and he would go train with them, and I just watched him, he would beat the brakes off of the instructors. And I went up to him, and he was an Army guy, he had a Ranger tab, and I was like, all right, this guy's cool. So I was like, dude, what do you do? And then she's like, I was like, all right, I have to do jiu-jitsu now. Let's say, you're a software engineer. Just Google, software engineer meetups around me. Try it. And then maybe you go and they're like, it's a bunch of losers, I don't want to go back. Cool, don't go back. Would you waste a couple hours? You want to try jiu-jitsu? Come into the gym. Not for you, no problem. Go try CrossFit, try something, But I think it's just to answer your question, just take some action. I don't care what that action is, but get yourself used to taking that action.
The hard part is you can't chase purpose. Purpose does not come from out there. It comes from in here.
My friend Kyle, he didn't go through our program, but he used jiu-jitsu. I mean, he was an addict, had a family, but maybe wasn't as involved as he should have been. And he credits jiu-jitsu, an Army veteran, Army combat veteran, early days of GWAT, Iraq, Afghanistan. He did the whole thing. Army infantry guy, as whatever, typical story, right? Army infantry guy, early GWAT, gets out, gets put on a bunch of painkillers, gets addicted. I'll let him tell a story if he ever wants to. But man, he sings jiu-jitsu's praise. I don't think he'd mind me talking about it either, because he talks about this kind of stuff a lot. And I've seen it, he was the first guy I knew that happened to, and then I found this foundation, and that's what they do.
I remember in the Marine Corps, in the beginning, I was at OCS, and every single night, you'd make your bed, you'd stand across the other side, you'd slap the bed, honor, courage, commitment, every single night. That's what they start with. They start with values.
Right. They don't know how to tie their white belt, so it looks all crooked, and they're just they're carrying themselves one way, and then a year later, it's not even that much time. A year later, man, I'm talking they've repaired relationships with their family. There's and by the way, we don't do any of that. We don't facilitate a phone call with your estranged, kids or something like that. People do that on their own. I don't have that option. It's off the table. So I sat down and I was thinking I purposely sat down and said to myself, what are you good at? And that's a hard conversation to have. My wife is as separated from the military as a human being. But so I went home and I was like, hey, I'm deploying. And she understood. I think we were dating at the time, but she understood, that's my job, and cool. And then 2 days later, Sergeant Hill's like, hey, actually, the deployment's off. I said, okay. He's like, but keep your bags packed, everything like that. Things can change. I'm like, cool. So I go home and try to tell my wife, hey, it's off for now, but these things, this is how they go. And then after that second or third time of it coming back on, I had to stop telling her.
Friends, welcome. Another episode of the Mastering the Military Transition series of the Prize podcast. Today, we have with us Sean Robichaud. Did I say that right?
Robichaud.
Yeah. Robichaud.
Close enough.
Yes, Air Force veteran. I'm going to let him introduce himself to a large extent here, but I feel like you have a really cool story, my friend. So let's start at start. Yeah.
Sure.
How did you go into the Air Force? And then what was it like transitioning, or while your time in the Air Force and then transitioning out? Just give me a high level overview.
Sure. So, let's see, where should I start? I was playing music. I'll start there before we start when we talked last. So I was playing music, doing the whole band guy thing. Kind of thought, I was like, I don't need school. I don't need anything. I'm gonna be a rock star. That's and luckily I had some smart people advise me. Said maybe you should go to college. I said, okay, I could play in a band while I go to college. So I did that, and some point saw a couple of my friends were being successful in music, touring, doing the whole thing. Most of the people in bands were not. They you know what I mean? And
starving artists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, hey, that's cool. I like doing this, but maybe I should explore some other things. So the military had kind of always been on my mind. My dad was in the Navy. I think at that point, my brother was in the Navy. Grandpa's, the whole deal, typical. So I started looking around, and the Air Force kind of came into my purview. Said, I'm definitely not going to join the Navy. You're not going to stick me on a boat for 8 months. You might know something about that. So I ended up joining the Air Force. Typical, just walked in the recruiter one day, said, I'd like to be in the Air Force. And he said, sure, here you go. And so that's pretty simple.
Yep.
But, then went into, did 6 years active duty. Like I said, relatively uneventful, had a good time, typical, like, positive things you get out of the military. You get to go cool places, meet cool people, do cool stuff.
Yeah.
Did all that. Started my transition out in 2022. Was doing a lot at the time. Went to grad school as soon as I got out, which ended up being a good decision. That is 100% my wife's decision. That was all her. Ended up being a very positive decision, though.
Yeah.
I knew I kind of wanted to get into entrepreneurship, but I was kind of removed from being a civilian. So grad school was a really good way for me, like, to aid in the transition, right? To start learning about the civilian world a little bit more, but I had that, like, the safety net of I was still in school. Sure, we'll get into more specifics, but ended up starting, like, a photography, videography business. Got to do some really, really cool stuff with that. That sort of transitioned into me starting a marketing company, which is what I do now. I have a couple marketing companies. I work with a bunch of different companies in a bunch of different areas, and yeah, so I kind of fell into that, like, entrepreneurial life. And I also have, like, 10,000 other things going on as well. But those are the highlights.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool, man. And actually, we share a little bit of a background there too. Music and punk rock specifically. So that's kind of fun. You actually, in some ways, remind me of a little bit of my bassist that I had in high school. So it's kind of funny. Cool, man. Hey, so Air Force, what was your MOS?
So by trade, I was a 2T351, which is vehicle management. So I would say it's like the least Air Force job in the Air Force. People are like, oh,
fly and drive.
People are like, what'd you fly? I was like, MRAPs. Yeah. So, like, just like the career field itself works. They handle everything from, like, the maintenance to the, managing where the vehicles go if we loan them out or anything like that. I almost talk about myself a little bit of separation from the career field, because while it is a great career field if you're in it, and that's what you like to do, I do not love the work. So I was always doing something different. And to give credit where credit's due, like, I had good enough leadership at certain, like, critical points that, like, I was able to do that kind of stuff. Like, as a combatives instructor, I did a stint with the base honor guard. Like, I did that kind of stuff. I augmented security forces for a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that's just kind of like, those things were a little bit more my speed, and so that's why yes, I was technically a 2T351, but, like, I almost feel like I'm, like, stealing their valor, like, when I do that, because I was like, dude, you don't want me wrenching on your car. That's not true.
Oh, so you don't, like, crank around in your car on the weekends?
Dude, I don't even change my own oil.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I hate working on vehicles.
Interesting.
Yeah, I kind of got I got, like, placed there by the Air Force. So I was like, I didn't really, know what I was getting into. But yeah, so it was like one of those things where, but, like, when I talk about with, like, separation, I have an immense amount of respect for the guys in that field, because it's not an easy job.
No, it's not.
Dude, and these guys, they're not just wrenching on vehicles. That's kind of what everybody thinks. But, like, these guys are out doing convoy work. A lot of times they're attaching to, like, the Army, or even, like, attached to, like, we work with the CBs. Our, like, tech training is all, like, same as, like, CBs. So, like, we work with those guys. Yeah. And these guys are, like, I have so many friends that have been, like, I don't know, working on brakes in the middle of firefights, that kind of thing. So it's a very cool career field.
Yeah.
It just, like, I just, like, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I always feel like I said, I feel like I'm stealing valor, because I know some of these guys, man, they can, like, they hear an engine and it's making a certain noise, and okay, we just go in, blah 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 blah, this, like, that, and then, like, while bullets are flying, it's crazy. It's insane. These guys are awesome.
That is cool. Yeah. Oh, wow. Actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really
Oh, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And were you deployed overseas at any point?
No, I 6 years active duty, 0 deployments. I was not post GWAT, but towards the end.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so when you got out,
yeah,
I don't just want to skip over some of this stuff, but to pull the thread a little bit, I know that jiu-jitsu has been a big thing in your life. So, and we're probably going to be touching a lot on that during this episode.
Sure.
But when did you get introduced to, let's say, hand-to-hand combat?
Sure. So I had some interest in, like, combat sports before I even joined the military. But I never, like, formally trained. I was actually watching, like, I was like, UFC was definitely a thing when I was in high school, but, like, I would watch UFC, I'd watch, like, WEC, which is, like, an older league. Like, I'd watch, like, everything. I definitely couldn't afford to train at the time. And then I just never did. I always had, like, other stuff going on. Yeah. And then I took my first jiu-jitsu class, like, a year before I joined the military. I was working at this coffee shop. This dude, who was actually ex-Marine, He'd like get coffee at our shop every day, and one day he was wearing a jiu-jitsu shirt, and I'm like, I know of jiu-jitsu. Let me try a class. And like I tried a class. I was like, I loved it, but like I said, I just couldn't afford it. So I really kind of got started when I was in the military. It's an interesting story.
Please,
you don't mind? Okay, please. I don't want to start rambling.
No, tell us the story.
I've told this story on another podcast, but the reason I trained jiu-jitsu, like the reason jiu-jitsu became a big part of my life, I owe it to like one dude. He's actually a good friend of mine now. So the opportunity came up to take the combatives instructor course, just like where I was working, went to my command. I was like, hey, can I take this? They're like, yep, go ahead. Like, I know this is what you want to do. So I had taken like, Air Force combatives before, but like, no offense to any of you military combatives guys out there. And they're doing a better job. Like they're modernizing now. But like for a long time, I think like you probably remember like the McNap and stuff like that.
I remember
like,
McNap.
It was just like,
I knew enough to get my ass kicked in a bar.
Yeah, ideally. And hopefully the military combatives have come a long way in the past couple of years, which I'm very happy about.
Oh, good.
And so like kind of went on a tangent, but I went and go take this course. And while I'm taking this course, pretty intense course, actually, it was like a week long. And like, I look back on it now, I'm like, I cannot believe that was actually how the course went. Because again, I don't want to go too all over the place, but the instructors of that course actually ended up getting in a little bit of trouble from what I heard, because we all walked out of there with like, a couple guys had like torn MCLs. Like I was more bruised than man by the end of this. I had a blast in this course, but it was one of those things where they may have gone a little too, I don't know. They did some stuff they maybe weren't supposed to do. I appreciated it though. If you guys, any of those instructors are out there, I thought it was awesome. I had a great time.
Right.
So sorry, not to go too off topic.
No, not at all.
But so during that class, during lunchtime, the instructors would all roll and train jiu-jitsu actually. And there was one guy that was taking the class, and he would go train with them, and I just watched him like, I don't want to swear, but like he would beat the brakes off of. I probably already have swore.
You're totally good, man.
Yeah, he would beat the brakes off of the instructors. And I went up to him, and he was an Army guy, like he had like a Ranger tab, and I was like, oh, this guy's cool. Like, so I was like, dude, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a purple belt or brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then it's just like, I was like, all right, I have to do Jiu-Jitsu now. So that class ended on a Friday. On Monday, I was stationed at McGuire, New Jersey at the time. That Monday, I drove to Philadelphia to the current gym that I train at, and I was like, I need to sign up. Like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
So that's actually how I got started. And that guy and I, we ended up becoming friends because one of those things where it was like one course, met the guy, it was quick. A couple years later, I'm actually training at my gym in Philly, and during that course, that guy had like a hoodie, and on that hoodie, he had like a logo of a company that he owned. It was a very recognizable logo. It had like the Ranger flash and stuff, firearms instruction company. One of my coaches, my jiu-jitsu coach, comes in wearing that hoodie. And I go, yeah. And I was like, some random guy I met when I was in the military. I was like, do you know that guy? He's like, yeah. I said, does he like live around here? He's like, he lives in Delco. I was like, no kidding. I was like, yeah. I told him the story. A couple months after that, one of my buddies, firefighter, comes to me. He goes, hey, one of my friends is deployed to Iraq right now. He's actually teaching jiu-jitsu out there. They need gis. Can you help me organize a gi drive and kind of get the stuff downrange? And I was like, yeah, I could, easy. So whatever, we did all these gis, package up. He goes, oh, my buddy sent me a picture of them like wearing the gis we sent them. And it's that dude.
And
interesting. And like, I was like, all right, I got to find this guy. So a couple months after that, literally just one day I'm training, he walks in the gym. And he probably thought I was the weirdest dude in the world because I just ran up to him. I was like, hey, do you remember me from like this 1 week class we took a couple years ago? And he was like,
no.
Yeah, no, very much like it was just very much like he was like, who? And then it like kind of hit him. He was like, oh my God. He said, what are you doing here? I was like, I train here. And it was crazy. He's actually like a really, really good friend of mine. I was just at his house on Sunday.
Well, it's cool too because he was your inspiration.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that dude had an immense effect on your life that he probably wasn't even aware of at the time, right?
And I freaked him out by like running. I was like, hey, you don't know this, but like everything I do now involves jiu-jitsu and you're the reason. Yeah. He's like, hey.
That's cool though. And I wonder, how did he take that? Did he ever say?
There's a reason we're friends. He like, once he processed it, he was like, that's cool as shit. Like, and then we just like instantly became friends after that.
No, that's beautiful. It is really cool that we can have the effects that we do on people and we don't even realize it a lot of times.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool, man. So, all right, I'm sure that your Air Force career wasn't as benign as you made it sound.
Yeah.
Do you mind talking about anything that may have stuck with you at any point in time?
Yeah. So,
and frame it however you like.
I mean, like, just like anybody else, the military has its ups and downs moments.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's when times are great, and when times aren't great, times aren't so great.
Right.
And one thing I struggled with a lot, like you talked about before, like I never deployed. I had and that still bugs me to this day a little bit. I've kind of come to terms with it a little bit, but like I got out I was in 2016 to 22. Everybody I knew deployed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is something that still to this day, it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, I did a lot of practice, didn't do the job. And I had a lot of friends that like all my friends, they did their thing and they did it well, and a lot of people I'm very proud of. And even people like in like different career fields. My career field, I met a bunch of people from different career fields, and
yeah.
But like so like the one, I don't know, so one, but like I just the drawdown in Afghanistan, that was a particularly stressful time, and something that kind of like, again, still kind of putting everything together. It was super hectic. I'm sure, I don't know, were you in at the time?
No,
yeah,
no. My brother-in-law was.
Okay.
He was in the Air Force.
Oh,
he was flying. I'm gonna screw this up. C5s or C17s?
Yeah.
C17s.
Yeah.
And he was part of the whole like out there, and I know that would hit him pretty hard.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a lot, and it was a lot like really quick. And I think we kind of touched on this before we started recording, but like the reason I think that sticks with me is because I almost felt guilty about how much it bugged me, because I was in New Jersey the whole entire time.
Yeah.
We were, running ops, and we were doing stuff, and we were, refugees and planes coming in, and like it was crazy. I was like sending guys out the door to Afghanistan, bringing people back. It was nuts. Like, I think that's one of the things that stuck with me too. It's like a lot of times you send somebody out the door and they're gone for a couple months, and then like we'd send people out the door and then they'd be back with a plane full of refugees in 3 days, and you're just like,
right.
And then like I got to see a lot of the people who were living their whole life in Afghanistan, just regular people, never even thought about coming to New Jersey. All of a sudden, the flip of the hat, they're walking off this plane. They're in a strange land. It's moms, kids.
New Jersey is a strange land.
New Jersey is a very strange land compared to New Jersey. They should have sent it to another state. Yeah, and so like that, I just remember like all that, a lot of chaos. I also had a little before that, during the COVID era, just another thing that's like stuck with me, and I think this is something that I'd like to, it was a challenge at the time, but I think ended up being a strength. And I think everybody in the military has dealt with something like this. But I had a deployment one time, canceled and re-put on 8 times.
Wow, 8
in a month-long span.
Wow.
So it was like one of those things where probably the best military leader I ever had, and actually he's out now, so I can shout him out, Sergeant Hill. If you're watching this, he probably will be. He's the man. Probably the best leader I ever had in the military.
Yeah.
I mean, hands down. Master Sergeant at the time. Did not get the credit he deserved for how good of a military leader this guy was, which
is often the case.
Yep. But he literally called me into his office one day. He's like, hey, man, like, we got this deployment to Africa. You're going to leave this time. I was like, okay, cool, check. So go home to my wife, who's, by the way, just pure civilian. Zero military. My wife is as separated from the military as a human being can get. Like it's and in a good way, in a positive way. Like it's part of the reason you join the military, so the rest of the population doesn't have to. You know what I mean? And but so I went home and I was like, hey, I'm deploying. And she understood. I think we were dating at the time, but she understood. That's my job, and cool. And then 2 days later, Sergeant Hill's like, hey, actually, the deployment's off. I said, okay. He's like, but keep your bags packed. Everything like that. Things can change. I'm like, cool. So I go home and try to tell my wife, like, hey, it's off for now, but these things, this is how they go. And then after like that second or third time of it coming back on, I had to stop telling her.
Yeah.
I just said assume.
Yes,
I said assume.
absolutely.
Assume I'm going. I said if I don't go, then I don't go. Whatever. And I don't remember why it ultimately ended up getting canceled, but it was right around the time COVID kicked off. And I do remember my commander when like there was a couple of us that were gonna go, and like the squadron commander, like we all like met with him, and he was probably like early 2019, and he was like, or early 2020, and he was like, hey, there's like this virus, we were all at that point. And then he's like, I don't know if it's gonna affect anything, whatever. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, base is shut down. Nobody's moving, no movement, no nothing like this. Like I had a friend who was out, just like at a fob in Iraq. It was like him and like 5 SEALs, and I got stuck out there for like 6 months. You know, like
Wow.
yeah, it's like, so like that. You know, that I mean, the COVID. That was just to say, like the COVID era was crazy, but that whole like deployment on, deployment canceled like 8 times in a month. Me and that guy Marcus Hill, we still talk about that like to this day. Which how crazy was that? He would walk into like where I was working, and I'd see him, and I'd go, "Let me guess."
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "I'm sorry." It's, you know.
Well, let's rewind for a second, because I understand where you're coming from, and like you almost feel bad for feeling the way that you did because you couldn't fulfill the mission that you were trained to fulfill.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of the reasons that a lot of us join the military to begin with. Believe it or not, I don't think that's uncommon. I really don't. In fact, I've had guests on the podcast where like one of his biggest traumas was exactly that, you know, as a Marine, like he never got to go, and it was just a timing thing. It worked out that way. So I don't think that's uncommon at all. And if there's people watching right now, that clearly you're not alone here, right? This is something that happens, and it's an interesting trauma. And I'm going to use the word trauma because we did something for some reason. We prepared ourselves mentally for something that didn't happen. And one of the things that's really interesting, I think, in life is almost all suffering in life is because our expectations didn't meet reality.
Yeah.
Right. And it can boil down to about that much of a simplicity. And when it's something as ingrained in you as the military, that expectation becomes much bigger. Right. So please don't feel bad about it. I hope you at this point in life have been able to process that, but also you're not alone. You're not alone at all. So let's fast forward to like getting out. Like what was that like for you when you were transitioning out of the military? Like, what was the process? Was it just you were done with the contract? Like, what was that?
Yeah. So I just did 6 years. I had a 6-year contract, finished the 6 years. I think this is probably a good time to bring in the jiu-jitsu stuff we've been teasing.
Please do.
Because this is, you know, I think this is where, as we've talked about, I think this is like a little unique part of my transition that I'm hoping, and that I think other people can hopefully take something. Please take something useful out of this. It's even if it's a boring story. But so 6 years was up. I knew I was getting out. I was ready to get out. For a multitude of reasons, right? You know, I'm sure if you're military people listening to this, you can imagine. Yeah, you can imagine. But I felt like I had a good time my 6 years, but I was done. And so for me, as I said, I can't really tell this story without adding in where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind of came in and helped me with my transition. So as I said, after that class, I trained. And so my life became about training. That was what I did when I wasn't at work. So I still do when I'm not at work. And for a multitude of reasons we'll get into, but I got out, my last day was a Tuesday. And I will just never forget this because Tuesday, 7 p.m., we have no-gi class at my gym. I left the base at, whatever time, 4 o'clock or whatever. And I'm looking at the base in my rearview mirror, like a scene out of a movie, like literally it's in my rearview mirror. And I am going, oh my God, what did I just do? I have spent 6 years in, and then the year before preparing. The last 7 years of my life have been all about the military. I'm not in the military anymore. Oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
And that's in my head. And I have about an hour drive to my gym. A bunch of guys, we get there early too. There's always something going on. So I was like, I'm just going to go right to the gym. And I get that all in my head, man. Like all just, what, did I make the right choice? Is this crazy? Should I try to drive back and have them try to let me in?
Take me back.
Yeah, I've screwed up. And as I'm thinking about this, that whole hour, I walk into my gym and my buddy Dan is there. And Dan, it's just Tuesday. And he goes, oh, good, you're here. Hey, I want to work on something on the mat. And that instant, my transition was made infinitely easier because Dan didn't care that it was my last day in the military. He didn't even know. I probably told him at some point, but he didn't know it was my last day in the military. He did not just dedicate the last 6 years of his life in the military. He is just showing up to jiu-jitsu class and wants to train a new movie he's been working on. That's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I was able to take all this chaos going in my head, and I said, you put it to the side for a second because I got to help Dan learn this move. And I gave me something to focus on. And once I had that, quiet the noise for a little bit, become a little more clear. So when the noise does come back, now you can manage it. Now it's not so overwhelming.
Mm.
So that's, that was like really the first part jiu-jitsu played in my transition.
Interesting. And okay, so was it the focus that he like broke your state basically? Is that what it was? Or was it that someone needed you for something? Or was it both?
It's a good question. I'd vent for, I can't collect my thoughts because you just brought up a really good point. No, I've never had anybody ask me that before. I think it was the focus. That's kind of what I've been operating on these past couple of years every time I think about this story. But I've never considered like, oh, somebody needed me for something, But maybe that did play into it a little bit, and I just wasn't even, if my favorite part about being in the military, like I think just a lot of people's favorite parts is like you have the ability to like directly help people all the time, whether that be you're, downrange physically helping, I don't know, liberate people ideally, or you have subordinate troops that you can help, navigate through something like that's always the most rewarding part for me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, exactly. Just being able to help people navigate. And yeah, maybe that was part of it. I never thought about that.
Well, so I asked this question because I think that a lot of us, when we get out, people that I've seen that really overcome something very, very big, and there's, this is a continuum. It's not just a 1 or a 0, right? But the people that have been able to really overcome the big thoughts and the big feelings and stuff like that are the ones who have found someone else to serve in the process. You know what I mean? And we join the military, whether we realize it a lot or not, a lot of times, is because we want to serve. It's in the name. We're service members, right?
Yeah.
So I find that if people can step outside of themselves and go, well, I'm here for a bigger reason, and I'm going to leverage whatever it may be, a nonprofit or jiu-jitsu or whatever, to better somebody else, and better themselves, actually, because it's a part of it.
100%.
A lot of times it makes that transition a lot easier because it's purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's 100% of what you're saying. I don't think it's a coincidence that, I work directly with 2 nonprofits, veteran-based nonprofits, and then I feel like I'm always doing something for some, others. I was trying to help a guy. I'm sure you're probably in a similar boat. I feel like a lot of us do transition to working with nonprofits, especially like in the veteran space, because that's exactly what you just said. It's fulfilling for us, and we want to serve others. I want to help people in my community. I say this all the time, like, the last squadron I was in was a logistics squadron. As a logistics squadron, your job is to support the warfighter.
Yeah.
That wanting to support the warfighter, like, that doesn't go away when you get out.
No.
Yeah. And so that's kind of like what I've been trying to do with the foundation and with all that is like, just because I'm out of this military doesn't mean I'm going to stop helping, to, like, people that we were in with, like, they I don't want to say they need my help, but a lot of people need some help, and I needed help, and I still do. So if anybody wants help, I got a lot of questions about a lot of things. But yeah, exactly. We help each other out, and it's I think that type of thing, it doesn't go away. Like it doesn't
go away.
Yeah, it's not like the contract's over. I don't care about anybody else. I'm not part of this. I know it's a cliche term, but like I'm not part of this brotherhood anymore. It's still there.
Well, the military, I think, in a lot of ways, it meets a lot of our needs.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And if you look at some of the more basic ones, and even some of the more spiritual ones, if you will, I'm going to use the 6 human needs per Tony Robbins on this one, but like, certainty. You're in the most structured, certain environment, in a lot of ways that you can get, right? You know where to be, what to wear, what to say, how to stand, how to tie your shoelaces in a lot of ways, right? And when you get out, that's gone. So I think what's interesting a lot of times in transition is that structure we take for granted, and that's one of the first things that's pulled out from underneath us. And by the way, it's also the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So your most basic human need, your most primal need, is now gone overnight. And I think that that's also a big reason why and sorry for the tangent, but why a lot of us wind up going and being like job, right? Because the job has to replace my certainty or my need for certainty. And usually there's a lot more deeper things that we have to deal with, right? But that's what we index on. So certainty, uncertainty. Oh my God, you just said you had 8 times back and forth, on this one deployment. Like, that's uncertainty. Variety, but it gets rid of boredom. You know what I mean? So that's also a human need. They conflict, but we need both. You have, significance. Think about how important a lot of times we feel in the military. I'm doing something for my country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, part of the reason that we can live the free lives. You said it. So like, I joined the military, and so a lot of civilians don't have to. There's significance that comes along to that. We all have a need for significance. Love and connection. Think about brotherhood that we have in there, or I don't know, brotherhood, sisterhood. Like, we have a unit that we all belong to. We were meeting at least those 4 needs on a very, very high level. And then you throw something in like contribution. I'm giving back. I'm supporting the warfighter, right? And growth, learning and growth. It meets literally all 6 of your needs on a very high level if you let it, and that can be very, very challenging to replace out in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I bringing this up? You got into jiu-jitsu, and we just talked about 2 needs right off the bat. Well, implicitly.
Yeah.
Talked about 1, which is contribution. Now I wonder about the other ones.
Yeah.
So
it's all there.
It's all there, right?
And I'm not here as a salesman for jiu-jitsu today. If you would like to train jiu-jitsu, I would recommend it. But there is what jiu-jitsu did for me, I'm sure you can find elsewhere. But I'm glad you transitioned into this, because this is kind of what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, please do.
And if I can be useful to anybody, which is my whole goal in life, I please, if you're watching this, like, and you take anything from it, I don't know a lot about anything. I'm not an expert on anything. I have dedicated a lot of my life to the jiu-jitsu community, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason I use the term jiu-jitsu community. It is a community.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, from the outside have a skewed perception of what jiu-jitsu is. Rightfully so. You don't know anything until you do it. You look at the military before you join. You don't know what that's going to be like. And I think a lot of people, especially veterans, when they come across jiu-jitsu, it's usually from somebody like Jocko or Joe Rogan, who are great, both those guys are great spokesmen for the sport. Jocko does a ton, but when they like
books on it.
Yeah, exactly. He's got books on it, and Jocko's actually still very involved. His daughter is a phenomenal.
Is she really?
Dude, she's awesome.
Is she a beast?
She's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But so my point with bringing guys like that up is what I think a lot of veterans, I think a lot of us come across, people hear about jiu-jitsu from those guys or something like that. And which is great, but if you don't look into it, you might think like, oh, jiu-jitsu is just something like for bros, or like it's about discipline and stuff like that. And hey, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm not like one of these like hard, like I wake up when I wake up. I exercise every day, eat right, work hard and everything like that. I'm not a big motivational poster guy. And if you are, nothing wrong with it. One of the brands I work with, my best friends own a brand that's how they make their whole living. So what I try to like demystify about jiu-jitsu to people, especially like other vets, is that like, if that's what you want it to be, if you want that discipline, hard work, this like it's structure, as you talked about, it's there. We got it. You know what I mean? It's all yours. But if you're somebody like me, who actually, when I was in the military, one of the things jiu-jitsu fulfilled for me was like a lack of structure. We both played in punk rock bands. I didn't always do great with authority as a kid.
Oh, man. Let's pull that thread a little bit.
No, I was a pretty good kid. I just, there's like a certain, there's a certain personality type of thing.
It is,
plays in music. Yeah. And so, but what jiu-jitsu gives you is unstructured time, if that's what you want. You know what I mean? Like jiu-jitsu is, it can be anything you want it to be, but like for me, it's a weird word to use, but like think of like, I'm using this in like an Animal Planet sense of the word. It's play.
Yeah,
sure. I get
variety.
to mess around.
Yeah.
I get to mess around. I get to do stuff. I get to try new things, especially as you like learn and get better, as you're learning, you're trying, you're having fun, you're doing something that's good for you. Kind of went off a tangent here from my wife from the Jocko stuff. I go off on a lot of tangents. I apologize. Long-winded is definitely, yeah.
You're good, my friend.
Yeah. So, but anyway, with the veteran community, I think it's cool to have a space coming out of the military where you have that structure, where you have all of those things you talked about. And jiu-jitsu is probably the closest thing I have found to all of that. for the reason being is that it's a community. My gym, I mean, I train at a bunch of different gyms. My home gym is Balance Studios in Philadelphia. Great gym. My best friends are there. You know what I mean? People are like, well, how do you train jiu-jitsu 5 times a week? I'm like, because I want to train 7. You know what I mean? Like, but I have other things to do. It's like, why would I not go? It's like, it's my favorite thing I like doing. All my best friends are there. Like, it's the best. You know what I mean? And that's why the kind of cliche joke is, it's funny because people are like, oh, jiu-jitsu requires discipline. You got to show up every day. You got to work hard. I'm like, maybe for some people, but dude, not for me. It's really hard for me. Like, I skipped jiu-jitsu today to come here. Like,
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to. But I think this is definitely a worthy reason to skip. But it's like when you get hurt, like if I like have like a small injury or something like that, and I'm like, it'd be smart to like take 2-3 weeks. That's the hardest part of jiu-jitsu is staying away from it.
Yeah.
So it's funny because some people will get in because they're like, I want discipline. I want that. I'm like, you're gonna get it, but not in the way you think.
Well, I think it's in how you put it in there, right? Actually, the last episode that we had, I thought was really interesting because, I don't know if you watched it at all, but Justin Wright, one of the things he talked about was he had a lack of discipline getting out. It's what he said. But I asked him, I was like, was it actually a lack of discipline or was it an unfocused discipline? Because you were disciplined about taking the drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so the reason I bring that up though is I think people have a very narrow view of discipline.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I completely agree.
To you just named, I work out 5 times a week. I eat right. You're disciplined. It just probably doesn't necessarily look the way that it does to everyone else.
Sure.
Because you have built probably an identity around it. So it's not necessarily like I'm this and I'm this and I'm this. It's just, no, it's part of who I am and I just do it.
Yes, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I love the book. I think it's Atomic Habits, where he talks about like, who's the dude that's going to quit smoking? The dude that's like, it's been 10 days. Or the dude that's like, I'm not a smoker.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Then the discipline's a whole nother level at that point, because it's not something you have to make so structured. It's something that's just, it's a part of you.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it. Yeah, I like the phrasing that way. Yeah, that's it. And you're right, because I'm using the term discipline as like almost like the meme of what discipline is.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
yes.
but you're right. It's especially like getting started in something like jiu-jitsu. It's like, yeah, you have to build that. Like you have to like build your identity, build that, because I have news for you guys. Like, if you're gonna start jiu-jitsu, you're gonna get beat up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that's when it's hard. I tell you what, like it's the running thing in jiu-jitsu is they always say like the hardest belt to get is your white belt, because that means like you showed up. And people have a lot of preconceived notions. I actually teach like 101 class at my gym. So like your first day of jiu-jitsu, like I'm the guy who's teaching you, and I hear it all. People coming in with like these like preconceived what they think it's gonna be. And you would not believe how many people think that their day one, they're going to come in and I'm just going to beat the shit out of them.
Really?
Oh, so many people are like, hey, like, I just like, and I'm like, hey man, like, PSA, if you're going to a jiu-jitsu gym and your first day, people are just beating the shit out of you, leave that gym immediately. That is not a good place to be. Now, you come, you learn for a couple of months, whatever, then we throw you into the deep end a little bit. Then you're going to start getting beat up a little bit.
Yeah.
But your first day, please, for the love of God, if you go to a gym and you get beat up your first day, leave. Go to a different gym. There's plenty. There's plenty of great gyms out there.
Mm-hmm. I got a question for you.
Sure, yes.
What would you say your values are?
Ooh, that's a good question. That is a very good question. Oh, man.
I know it's a hard one.
It's a very hard one.
Well, boil it down. What's something you got really, really pissed about recently?
Ooh. Okay, this is going to sound silly, but I think it's a good starting point, hopefully. I don't like when people are late to things.
Okay.
And the last thing I got pissed about was somebody being late to something.
Okay, so boil that down.
Yeah.
What was the story that went in your head as to why you were mad they were late?
I boil being late down to you don't respect. Exactly. So there you go. There's
okay.
I need to be able to find something.
so you value respect.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. What's something that you were very delighted about that someone did recently?
Oh, that's a very good one. I'm generally very impressed by people. So I'm trying to think like something that somebody did recently that I was just very delighted about. To be completely honest with you, like I'm putting together an event right now that we'll talk about. I asked somebody for their email address and then they sent it to me. And I know that doesn't sound like a big deal.
So they follow through.
They follow through. Simple. Like followed a very simple direction. And that simple direction, I know it's me asking for email address and it doesn't sound like a big deal. But when I'm asking 100 people for their email addresses and I got to make sure that this is here and this is here, a simple like, here you go. I mean,
so that could be a few different things. Is it integrity? Because they did what they said they were going to do? Is it that it could be respect again? That they respected you enough to follow through? What if you had to piece that apart? What do you think it would be?
It might also come down to respect because you know what it is. It's this person knew that I was like sort of stressing about this kind of thing. So I don't know what this person was doing at the time. Maybe they were sitting home on their couch. Maybe they were at work. You know, whatever. It doesn't matter. They took the time out of their day, whatever they were doing, and they said, "Yep, Sean needs this right now. Here you go." Simple thing on their part, but to me, it just like speaks. It's so important, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I very much I try to value other people's time because I expect my time to be valued, like I just said. So when somebody does something like that, again, I don't care what you're doing. If you're sitting on the couch, maybe it's you're sitting on the couch time. You took time, you took 10 seconds out of that. Well, hey, I appreciate it.
Right. When okay, where did that come from? The respect, the desire for respect, or the value of respect.
I can tell you the being late thing came from my dad and my grandpa.
It did.
Yeah.
Okay, so it came from growing up.
Yeah.
And it was probably hardened in the military.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. If you ain't early, you're late.
Yep. Which is where my dad and my grandpa's value was also hardened. So it's like generations of having that value and then going into a place that values that. Yeah.
So tell me this: where does respect show up in jiu-jitsu?
Oh, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing something. I know, like this is gonna sound cheesy. It is what it is. You're practicing hurting people.
Yeah.
I could right now, like, I don't know how much combative training you have.
You could kick my ass.
I don't think I would have a problem choking you to death right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Likewise, I am not the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world. I don't want to make any qualms about that. I am as average as it gets. I probably have a little bit more competition experience than people, which means I also have more losses than people. Like I am not. So when I train with people that could probably more easily than I could go over there and choke you, they could do that to me, and they don't. I mean, I know, is somebody going to kill me on a jiu-jitsu mat? No. But you have to have some level of restraint and some level of respect for the person.
Yeah.
Or like, let's say, here we go. You're a new white belt. Maybe you've been training for 3 months and it's time for you to start rolling. So we call sparring. We're going and I have you in an armbar and you don't have the experience to know that I have you dead to rights yet.
Oh yeah.
So what could I do? I could put it on really hard and maybe potentially injure you. Or I could let you work, let you practice your defense, let you do whatever, let you realize that you're in that position. And then, you keep working. So that's, definitely like, you have that level of respect for people where you're like, I'm at practice right now. I'm not going to seriously injure another person just because I want to finish this move, right? Like, just because I want to get my tap. It's especially when you're at like practice, like who cares, And so I'm allowing you, like the respect thing comes in because I could make myself feel really good and finish you and tap you and all that. But instead, I'm foregoing that and allowing you to learn in that moment.
Right.
And endless amounts of people have been that person for me, and that's what we try to do for each other. I mean, there's no shortage of ways I think respect shows up in jiu-jitsu just because of the nature of what we're doing. You could seriously hurt somebody, and every time you don't seriously hurt somebody when you could have, I mean, that's a very, very, there has to be that level of respect there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring this up, and I think that, thank you, you illustrated it beautifully. A lot of times I talk to people who are getting out, I see it on LinkedIn, I see it in social media, Reddit. There's this desire for purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that tends to be the thing that they focus on. I went into my first job, I didn't feel like it matched. So it's, purpose. I hear the word and I see the word purpose a lot. And the hard part is you can't chase purpose. Purpose does not come from out there. It comes from in here. A lot of times based on the stories we tell ourselves even. But the interesting thing that you pointed out, and I love that it worked out for you this way, and I love that this story is kind of going this way, is that we actually kind of have things a bit backwards, starting with value. What do you value first, and getting clear on that? Because there's probably so many things in the military that were trained in us. Man, I remember in the Marine Corps in the beginning, I was at OCS, and like every single night you'd make your bed, you'd stand across the other side, you'd slap the bed, honor, courage, commitment, like every single night. That's what they start with. They start with values.
Good point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being clear on our values as people, and then building an identity around that, as opposed to now using something external to define that, in my opinion, is the place to start with transitioning out of the military. Because now it's something that's coming from within. You have control over it. It's no longer something that can be broken from out there, you know? Now you're building a container around it that is not easily shattered, such as, like, say, you see this all the time too, right? What are you? Oh, I'm an engineer. Oh, I'm an entrepreneur, right? You are until you aren't. And then what? But building that identity instead of I'm a respectful person. Oh man, that lands differently.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And then building the purpose kind of comes out of that, because now you're going to do everything you can. You already talked about it. I eat healthy. I show up and I work out. Dude, that is part of the purpose that comes out of it, right? And it wasn't the other way around. You didn't go seek purpose. You started with something that was important to you, something that resonated with you. You have an identity that's built around that and with that, and now the purpose comes with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad you put it like that. Honestly, the way you just said is very helpful. I've never thought about it that way, but I actually did have a moment where when I got out, that I did force myself to sit down and think about something, and actually really helped with my transition. If you don't mind, I'll take it off into that.
Yes.
Like this actually, like, something that I only realized I did recently. Well, I knew I did at the time. I think what you just said was, like, there's sometimes you need to, like, sit down and purposely think, what are my values? Like, you know, like, it's maybe even like write it down. You know what I mean? Like,
you should write it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And probably you sit down more than once, because, you know, one time you might think it, and you should make a habit of that.
Yeah.
So this is actually how I ended up in marketing.
Okay.
Yeah. And so at one point when I got out of the military, I had read every horror story about transitioning. I knew people that had bad transitions. So when I was in TAP, I went to TAP and I took every note I could, took down everybody's phone number, email address, like things I didn't even, like, I was like, is this important? I don't know. Write it down. So
good.
Yeah. And because I didn't want to end up, I mean, it's like extreme, but like, I did not want to end up another statistic. Like, be that a homeless veteran, be, you know, suicide, like whatever. I was like, I had my wife at the time. I was like, I have to take care of her. And my wife is very capable of taking care of her own self, but, you know, you give yourself purpose. Exactly. Like we were talking about. So I don't have that option. It's off the table. So I sat down and I was thinking, like, I purposely sat down and said to myself, what are you good at? And that's a hard conversation to have.
It is a hard conversation.
It's a very hard conversation to have. But, like, especially I think for veterans, because I don't know about you, but nobody in the military ever asked me what I'm good at. Hey, what are you good at? What do you like doing? Like,
Yeah.
Hey.
You're right. I mean, a lot of times it's either recognized and identified,
Sure,
or you're placed somewhere.
you get an award. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And you get an award here off of that. Sure, you're right. Yeah. But I think that whole, like, questioning, it's like one of those questions that you have to get your ego involved a little bit, and that's for me, and I think for a lot of vets, that's extreme.
It is.
Like, a lot of people.
No,
it's extremely challenging.
I think for veterans especially, it's actually very challenging.
Yeah. And so I had to say, what am I good at? And not just like, what am I good at right now? Like, what am I throughout my life have I been good at? And I started looking. I said, well, you know, I played in the band. What was my role in the band? I was never the best musician. I was never the best songwriter, but I was responsible for us getting shows. I was responsible for us, if we had to sell t-shirts or CDs, I was always the forefront of that. Okay, interesting. You know, what do I like doing? Well, I've done, like, photography. I've done stuff like that. And then I had so I said, okay, there's got to be something in there, right? And then I was doing an MBA program at the time. I had a marketing professor, and I told him kind of like what I do. And he Air Force veteran, one of his clients sold, like, gear, like plate carriers and helmets and stuff like that. So he actually asked me for my opinion on something. So you're fresh out of the military. Can I get your opinion on this? And then I said, yeah. I said, by the way, this guy's website is terrible. It sucks. Like I said, like, and then I said, well, here's what I've been doing for people. And I've been like helping like promote themselves. He goes, oh, you're a marketer. And I was like, I don't know. I'm in this class to learn what marketing is. And he's like, no, what you just did is marketing. So he kind of took me under his wing. But that only happened because I sat down and I thought, I was like, what am I good at? And like, what do I like doing? You know, where do those things overlap? And it sounds like such obvious questions, but man, it was hard to answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Japanese ikigai?
No.
No, it's the overlap of the 4 circles. It's like, what am I good at?
Okay.
What do I enjoy doing? What can I make money doing? And what does the world need? And like,
I wish I'd seen that.
yeah, it's the overlap of the 4 of those.
Yeah.
That's the Japanese ikigai.
Okay.
Look it up. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the cool things you can do is go into like Claude or ChatGPT or whatever and ask it to ask you. Interview me to help me figure out my ikigai. And the way you spell that, I'll drop it in the show notes, but Ikigai. So it sounds like that's what you did.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. That's literally exactly what I did, because I just said, like, you know, and I also knew that, like, I told my wife this. I say I didn't have a bad time in the military because I don't like to complain. Didn't exactly have a ton of fun. And I said to my wife, like, I mean, okay, I had good times, had bad times, whatever.
Sure.
Just like anywhere else. I told my wife, I said, hey, before we got married, I said, just so you know, like, if you're going to marry me, when I get out of the military, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much money I'm going to make, because I didn't even know what that was at the time.
Yeah.
I said, so if that's not cool with you, fine, no problem. I understand. This can't go further. And to her credit, she's like, no, I get it. Because I said, the military, like, a lot of times you're doing what other people tell you to do. And it's, you know, has to function like that. I'm not complaining. But I said, when I get out, I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
And
good on you for respecting her enough to be honest.
Yeah. And I give her all the credit in the world, because I don't know how I'd handle it if somebody said that to me. Is like, the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, like, is just like, oh, by the way, I don't know if we're going to really make money. Like,
oh, by the way, we're probably going to be broke under a bridge.
Yeah. I know you want to have kids and all that, but, yeah. So yeah, that was big, but, not like, just kind of tie this back in. Like, jiu-jitsu is also the reason I got into doing what I do now, was because it gave me like a stable platform to operate from. And, you know, one of the ways I was doing like some photo and stuff like that when I was in the band, but I really got back into photography and videography when I was in jiu-jitsu. I got hurt, started taking pictures of people. People liked it. I started this page, got a decent following. And actually that page, like just a random Instagram page, because of that page, I mean, I've been flown out to numerous jiu-jitsu events to you know, do media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't do as much like the photo and video stuff on the marketing side these days. I'm a little more just like strategic level, but I still do it, you know, do freelance stuff here and there. But I wouldn't have had any of this. I wouldn't have had any of that if it wasn't for the jiu-jitsu community. And also just like I'm an evangelist for jiu-jitsu, I know. What people might not realize about our community is everybody's in there.
Yeah.
Like, you literally have cops and criminals.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, cops and criminals. That's like the stereotype, you know. It's like, but in every jiu-jitsu gym, you have janitors, you have CEOs, you have accountants, you have whatever. So if you're a transitioning veteran,
networking.
Dude, jiu-jitsu gyms are the best networking places.
That's interesting.
Because everybody trains there.
Yeah.
And coming out of the military, I did not know what jobs there were in the civilian world. I knew, like, I've had this conversation a lot, but like, I'm coming out, I'm like, okay, well, I know like an accountant's a thing, but I don't like numbers. And I'm like, I know a teacher's a thing. I don't know if I want to be a teacher. And I'm like, oh, that's all the civilian jobs I know. Obviously, you know, the one mechanic and stuff, but you know what I mean? You don't know what's out there. I did not know you could own a marketing company. I did not know that was a thing. But being in the jiu-jitsu gym, you get exposed to all these different people. And I don't think I just generally didn't realize the value of networking. In the military, I think I was actually pretty good at it. Like, I was able to, like I said, I didn't do my job a lot because I made friends with the right people. That's literally how I did it. You know what I mean? I was like, you can't just not do your job. But networking when you get out is huge. And I think that's something that I wish people would tell transitioning veterans more, is that there is, especially if you live in a major city, there's networking groups all over.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Meetup.com, like
Eventbrite, like, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Actually, that's one of the things that I think saved me in my transition was when I was getting out, because I was medical, was I went up to Seattle to do like a coding boot camp, software engineer.
Nice.
And I had this Chrome extension that at the time, I don't think you do this anymore, but it would like, you would say, hey, I want to connect with this many people on LinkedIn that day, and they need to meet this and this profile. And this is a Chrome extension, and I would just set it and forget it. And like every day I would connect with like 100+ software engineers and engineering managers. By the time I left that place, I had like 5,000 connections.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My first job came from LinkedIn.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Networking.
That's
Everything. And there's so many tools to do it.
So many.
You know, I actually really like that you're bringing up the community aspect of it. I went down to the Military Influencer Conference last year, and I was just interviewing spot interviews, like random people. And I was like, if you could tell like transitioning veterans, like one thing, what would it be? And I think it was like 8 out of 10 were like community. Find your community. Find your community. It is everything. And it's cool that, again, you kind of fell into it. So how else would, if we know how to break this down and become tactical with someone who's getting out, like what would be some guidance that you would maybe give them to help identify maybe their community or whatever it may be? Like what would be the thing that you would tell them or suggest to them so that they could be successful?
Yeah. I just want to be careful with answering questions like this because I don't want to like have some illusion that I'm some crazy successful.
Tell from your experience.
Yeah, but I think I have learned a thing or two. The number one thing, and this has always come, I guess this has always come natural to me. I don't think it's as sometimes easy for everybody, but I don't care if it's natural for you or not. You have to do it. You have to do things. Like I've met people with plans on how to transition out. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And then you follow up with them and they haven't done it.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like a simple thing. Everything I talked about today is like simple things.
Yeah.
That's just how my brain works. Like, but so we're talking about, networking and trying to find your community. You have to go try it. So like, let's say, you're a software engineer. Just Google like software engineer meetups around me. Try it. And then maybe you go and they're like, it's a bunch of losers. I don't want to go back. Cool. Don't go back. Would you waste a couple hours?
Right.
What,
You know what I mean? Was the worst thing that happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go. You want to try jiu-jitsu? Come into the gym. Not for you, no problem. Go try CrossFit. Try something. But I think it's just like to answer your question, like just take some action. I don't care what that action is, but get yourself used to taking that action. Because again, you had mentioned this earlier. When you're in the military, there's a lot that's done for you. Like that's the thing I always use is like I never have to make my own dentist appointment. Like I get I get an email and somebody be like, you have to go to the dentist this day. I'm like, okay, cool. And so I think like, little things like that where it's, you don't even think about it, but getting out and doing, that's a huge part of it. And I think in that you'll find something. You might not find what you thought you needed to find, but you'll find something. For instance, I went to a meetup one time. I won't say the topic because I don't want to give the meetup group away, but I thought it was the lamest thing I've ever been to. I met a guy there. And he was also like, is this the lamest thing you've ever been to? And I'm like, yeah, this is the worst. And I'm still friends with that guy. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's funny. And then you start building your community that way. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Actually, and what's cool about that too is you're actually touching on it without maybe meaning to, values.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't know what those are.
Right.
Or sometimes we aren't necessarily clear on them. Taking the action to get out and be somewhere that all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Here's a hack. Ask yourself why. Go to that place. Why did you think it was cool? Or why did you think it was the lamest thing ever?
Yeah.
That question, why, can actually illuminate a lot more than you think. Because now maybe the instructor was late. And that touched on something that was disrespectful for me. Oh, wow. Maybe I have a big value of respect. Where can I go that embodies or on a high level serves my value or a value of respect?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now you just open a whole Pandora's box where maybe something will align more than what it did before.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And exactly like, I think everything you're saying today, I'm going to write down after this because I think it's extremely useful because I think I've been doing a lot of what you're saying without, just like, not like intentionally, not purposely. You know what I mean? I've never actually heard someone say this like this before. This is actually very valuable for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to, everything we've talked about right now is sort of circling the wagons of this foundation that I work with that I would love the opportunity to talk about if you don't mind.
Please do, yeah.
So talk about helping other veterans. You do your stuff, phenomenal work from what I've been told, helping veterans transition out. I don't think there's very few more worthy causes. The way I kind of do my part is because I have no other personality besides jiu-jitsu, I try to help the veteran community from within jiu-jitsu. So I work for a foundation. I'm currently the Philadelphia what is my title? The Philadelphia area representative, something like that, for the We Defy Foundation. It's a volunteer position. I don't have to know what it's called. I think I'm taking over the state of Pennsylvania soon, or if it might already be. I might already be it. I'm not sure. Most of our stuff in Pennsylvania happens around Philly. So
yeah.
But so what we do at the foundation is we provide scholarships to a jiu-jitsu gym, 1-year scholarships for any combat disabled veteran with a VA rating of 80% and up. So if you'd like to apply for one of our scholarships, what we'll do is you get in as long as you hit the qualifications, and we have like different rounds when we take applications. But if you're watching this and that sounds like you, put the application in now. Just put the application in anytime. And then when it's time for us to review them, you'll get like an email or something.
Yeah. We'll drop the link in the show notes.
Thank you. That'd be great. And so what we do is we put you in a jiu-jitsu gym for 1 year. We pay for everything. You don't got to pay for the membership. You don't have to pay for, if it's a gi, if you're doing gi, no gi, whatever, we'll get you a uniform. We'll even give you a mentor.
Wow.
And our mentors are veterans that are between a blue and brown belt. So it's like blue, purple, or brown belt. Many of them have been through the program before, but not everyone. But at least, you're going to get a veteran, you're going to get somebody who trains. The only thing we ask of the people who receive these scholarships is that you show up. That's it.
Wow.
All you got to do, show up to class a couple days a week. You and your mentor figure out how many days realistically you can do. We don't have if you don't show up 2 days a week, your scholarship's gone. No, just you figure it out. And we have seen, we're funding a study right now all about community and veteran mental health.
Really?
Because we have seen such a positive impact from doing this. We're a nationwide foundation headquartered in Dallas, Texas. We're at least 1,000 volunteers strong. I want to say there's probably more at this point. And we've put thousands of athletes through our program.
Wow.
And I mean, here's what I'll just continue to sing jiu-jitsu praises. The reason it's helpful for veterans, the reason it's helpful for that is, as one major thing as we talk about is community. Yeah. I'm going to put you in a supportive community. You know what I mean? If you're not supportive in your jiu-jitsu community, you typically don't last. There's not a lot of room for don't get me wrong, you're going to find guys with egos, you're going to find people you don't like, of course. But what you're going to find generally is a group of supportive people, and that's a group of people that typically hold each other accountable. Because if you and I, Peter, if we train together and I don't see you for a week, I'm going to be texting you, be like, yo, dude, like, what's up? Like, everything good? Like, are you traveling? Whatever. And, little things like that, and typically, like, if you're gone for a week, I'm going to know why. It's just like, not that it resolves any other business, but like, it's just, it's that level of community. Also, I mean, you can't disregard the benefit of physical activity.
Absolutely.
Physical activity is everything. And you're going to get that in jiu-jitsu. And, it's good for it's good for your body. It's also good for, we have a lot of veterans, unfortunately, that, they probably drink a little bit too much. Maybe you're doing some drugs, like whatever. If that's you, I don't care. You please apply for one of our scholarships. If you don't feel like you're physically ready, we're good. Don't let that be a factor. If you have been dealing with whatever, just apply. Just apply. We want to see you there. Reason being is, I put it this way because it tends to stick to people. If it's Saturday morning and there is a 200-pound dude trying to choke you, and it is 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, and this dude's sweating in your face while he's grabbing your collar and trying to make it so you can't breathe anymore, you start thinking about, maybe I shouldn't have had that third or fourth drink last night.
Right, I'm a little hungover right now.
Yeah, and trust me, we've all been there. Yeah, and it's and so that's the little things that I think have like a huge impact on people.
Yeah,
like if drinking is a problem, we don't have doctors. We don't have professionals. If you need professional, go see a professional. We're not a substitute for any type of professional doctor. What we are is a community and an activity where that type of thing happens. Where we talked about before, who's going to quit smoking? The guy said, I've been not smoking for 10 or whatever. We want to switch your identity to, maybe somebody who has a drinking problem to somebody who does jiu-jitsu and is fit and is this and that. So that's the kind of impact we're trying to have. Not a substitute, like I said, for professional help or whatever, but we're giving you, we're going to give you that. And I'm just using alcohol as an example. People overeat, people, whatever, anxiety, depression, they don't want to leave the house, everything like that. Just, I know it's hard to get yourself to the gym sometimes. Like, trust me, I've been there. You don't want to leave your house, you don't whatever. If we can get you into a gym couple weeks, get you a community, positive place. I've seen it do so much for so many veterans. Like
I believe that.
You would not, I mean, you said you believe it.
No, I do.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like about to say, I meant to like, I've had it say you would not believe. Because I know you've seen these types of transitions people have, like night and day, man. Like my friend, let's use first name, my friend Kyle, he didn't go through our program, but he used jiu-jitsu. I mean, he was an addict, you know, had a family, but like maybe wasn't as involved as he should have been. And he credits jiu-jitsu, an Army veteran, you know, Army combat veteran, early days of GWAT, like Iraq, Afghanistan. He did the whole thing. Army infantry guy, you know, as whatever, typical story, right? Army infantry guy, early GWAT, gets out, gets put on a bunch of painkillers, gets addicted. You know, I'll let him tell a story if he ever wants to. But man, like he sings jiu-jitsu's praise. I don't think he'd mind me talking about it either because he talks about this kind of stuff a lot. And I've seen it, like, he was like the first guy I knew that happened to. And then I found this foundation, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's, and then also, I just want to touch on, like, I said the physical benefit, but I think physical and mental are pretty tied.
100%.
Yeah, it's pretty tied into
mind-body connection, dude.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
One doesn't exist without the other. You know, it's, so, you know, you're also getting a chance to exercise your mind, which I think sometimes people, when they maybe get out of the military or whatever, like, they don't, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but some people would be surprised to know, like, some people don't use their brain. And I don't mean that like in like a silly, like kind of like, you're not challenged. You're not, I shouldn't say you don't use your brain. Some people don't challenge themselves.
Actually, I'm glad you said it that way because you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I think there's a reactive way to use your brain. And that's probably what you're referring to.
Yes.
Is I'm being reactive to the thoughts and the feelings and the stories and the stuff that are going on, and I'm letting them happen.
Yes.
As opposed to being more proactive and recognizing that, okay, there's that story. I can rather react to it in this way, or maybe I can think about it in a different way. And how does jiu-jitsu play into that?
Yeah. So the one major thing, the benefit that I get, and I read books and I try to keep my brain proactive, but jiu-jitsu is a never-ending learning experience. You will never know all of jiu-jitsu. Because it changes. Like, I mean, I know guys that have been training for 30, 40 years that, like, the sport changes and the activity changes. Some people don't even like actually the sport and the self-defense and that. Like, jiu-jitsu has a lot of different ways you can go with it. It's not really like one thing. But man, I'm constantly learning.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful, man. You know, it's so powerful. I think a lot of us, even when you leave school, like, you know, you're not constantly in that, like, I need to learn this. I need to figure this out. Some people, like, you know, you get a job and nothing wrong with it, but maybe you get a job that doesn't require a lot of mental, you know, taxing or whatever. And now, okay, well, if you're at your job 8 hours a day and then you go home and you watch TV and you eat dinner and then you go to bed, like, you're never exercising that part of your brain. Whereas, like, with jiu-jitsu, it gives you a reason to do that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're, like, brand new and you can't figure anything out. Like, and you're like relearning some. I've watched people. It happens all the time. Like, people relearn how to use their brain. They relearn how to learn. Like,
absolutely.
I'm teaching them something, and then they go, like, you know, oh man, like, dude, not an exaggeration. I have taught people where I am like, okay, now move your left hand, and they're so caught up in their brain, like, I don't know how to do. I don't like what, like, exactly how I'm stuttering now. That's what they're doing. I go, move your left hand, and then their right hand moves because they're so not used to having to think through a problem anymore that they're just like, they're gone.
Well, they're focused.
Yeah.
In one spot. I love that you brought this up. I use this metaphor a lot where, like, when you learn new things, it's like you have this iceberg in your brain and there's so many penguins on the iceberg and you have to, like, make room. So you have to, like, shove some penguins off the iceberg to make room for new penguins.
Yeah.
That's silly.
I like it. Frank him, Mario.
Yeah. But actually, you know, as silly as that is, if we're in those areas like you're talking about where I'm not maybe using my brain so much at work or I'm not being mentally stimulated, I'm not making room for new penguins. So I'm using the same old penguins all the time. I'm going to be talking about penguins a lot today.
I like it.
But, you know, you use those same penguins all the time. And a lot of times, those penguins aren't serving you in the way that they could be. And if you push them off the iceberg and now all of a sudden you have some new penguins that are like, maybe I have to learn XYZ maneuver, maybe I'm not circling on the same old thing anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not occupying space in my brain in the same way that it used to before. And now all of a sudden I'm doing something that is putting me in a better mental space than it was before. I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, I know I spent a lot of time talking about all the benefits of jiu-jitsu and why I'm so tied to it. But like, I wouldn't be talking about this stuff if I hadn't seen it help people.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not just for, if you're listening to this, you're not a veteran, please go train jiu-jitsu. It'll still have, I think still has benefits. But the reason, we do what we do at the foundation is just because, man, like, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the mechanisms in your brain are that make you seek community, that make you learn. I don't. Like, I'm not, my wife is actually a PhD scientist. She probably knows. She hasn't told me, but
But go home and ask.
Yeah, exactly. All I know is I have seen many people at this point from like year or day one, they get our scholarship, they put their gi on, they don't know how to tie their white belt so it looks all crooked, and they're just like, they're carrying themselves one way, and then a year later, that's not even that much time. A year later, man, I'm talking like they've repaired relationships with their family. There's like, and by the way, we don't do any of that. We don't like facilitate a phone call with your estranged, kids or something like that. People do that on their own.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, maybe I'm not smart enough to know why this is happening, but I am smart enough to see that it is happening and that we need to keep doing it because it's the impact it's having on our community, which is a community that is suffering. It's just like, how could I, if I see that, like, you're probably the same way, like, how could I see that work and then not do everything in my power to keep doing it, to keep it happening, to get to more people? That's where I am. Like, I get pretty passionate about this kind of stuff, and I talk about it a lot, and sometimes I'm worried like I'm talking about too much and I'm annoying people. But it's like, I don't know if this annoys you. Like, we're probably just not meant to be friends. But like, it's, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where you can't watch your community suffer so much and then have something that helps and not go like, we're all in. It's and I think a lot of us are like that. It's not unique to me.
Let's abstract that, because I agree. I think that this is something that's worked really, really well for you, and you've seen the beauty in it, and you've seen the power in it and what it can do. There's lots of things like this.
100%.
There's, hey, before you joined the military, did you like mountain biking? Did you like riding horses? Did you like archery? Did you like playing music? Whatever. Did you like knitting scarves? There's so many different things, and there are communities for all of this,
Yeah.
I think jiu-jitsu has a lot of those 6 human needs that I talked about at a very, very high level, and I can see why that would work.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not for you, go find yours.
Plenty.
I promise you it exists. I promise you. In fact, I promise you that it exists from a veteran standpoint. Look at, Project Healing Waters.
Yes.
You want to go fly fishing? Go fly fishing with a bunch of Vietnam vets and let them tell their war stories. It's funny, but it actually is a lot of fun. There's so many different things like that out there, and I would urge you to get out there and do in order to change your life, because it exists. And a lot of times it just takes getting off that couch or whatever it may be. What's your favorite book?
Ooh, man, that's a good question. All right, so I'm going to talk through this answer because let's see. I mean, I think I brought him up earlier, but like, I was almost kind of like saying how much I don't like this kind of stuff, but I think Jocko's book, Extreme Ownership, is a book everybody should read.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because it's like, the concept is so unbelievably simple.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, hey, it basically just comes down to like, do stuff and own the things you do. It's like, it's so simple. So that book, like, I think is a phenomenal book. I think if you want to like get a little old school, Book of Five Rings, Minamoto Musashi.
Okay.
I am pretty surface level. I am not like the deepest philosophical person in the world. That book though just spoke to me in like a way that I kind of started understanding.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. Dang, I know there's some good ones. If you like It's gonna sound like crazy. I'm like really into like aliens and
Oh, yeah?
outer space and stuff like that. That's
Nice.
like that's my whole jam. Like all like my logos for my companies are all like
Oh, funny.
alien themed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Secret Machines by Tom DeLonge from Blake is
Oh, really?
dude, it's a great book.
That's
it's
funny.
so good.
Really?
The whole Secret Machine, yeah, it's like a whole he's got like a bunch of like things he's put out under like To the Stars Academy, and like I didn't want myself to just like it because it was Tom DeLonge,
Yeah.
and it's just
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out. That's kind of funny.
they're all so good. All his little
I just
there.
I just read or listened to The Storyteller with Dave Grohl.
Oh,
And I didn't
nice.
realize that. I guess I should have realized this. That Foo Fighters, the name Foo Fighters, was
Yeah.
like
World War
really into aliens too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I also read Mark Hoppus's biography recently.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, very good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll check that out too. It's funny.
Sorry, I know like those books are like it's like a crazy span of like I'm just trying to think of things I've read
Not at all.
recently. I always have a terrible time remembering.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Do you have your podcast?
Yeah, I listen to quite a bit of podcasts. For comedy, a podcast you might not have heard of. It's pretty popular now, but it's called Are You Garbage? Fantastic podcast.
Okay.
If you want a comedy podcast, if you want to like learn, I'm a big Lex Friedman fan.
I love Lex Friedman.
Lex got his black belt at my gym.
Did he really?
Yeah. So
Interesting. Where's he? He's in Cali.
he's in Austin now.
In
but,
Austin, okay.
Yeah, I think his dad still lives in Philly, but he did his PhD at Drexel.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Lex, I'm a big Lex Friedman. Trying to think, what was I just listening to on the way here? Can I pull up my phone and just check?
Yeah, man, do it.
What do I like here?
And we'll drop this all in the show notes too.
Sure,
Like we usually do.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Sean Ryan's been putting out some awesome stuff. If you want to get political, part of the problem with Dave Smith, maybe some of you don't want to listen to that stuff, but I don't know. I just like, I listen to podcasts. I think a lot of people do, different reasons. That's why I started. I was like, here's a comedy one, because here's one everybody can agree.
Right.
Now here's a little more niche stuff, and then I listen to all like the big podcasts, like Sean Ryan, Rogan, like all that stuff. I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts. Like,
Do you?
yeah. I think because I use podcasts as a way to like take a mental break.
That's funny actually, because
Yeah.
to me, I use them to learn.
I do that as well.
I mean,
you know,
especially
for
if you're
sure.
talking like Lex Friedman. I feel like
Yeah.
Lex Friedman, man.
Well,
that
yeah,
sounds
when I'm ready to like jump into
good.
like Lex Friedman or Huberman or something like that,
Yeah.
like you know what I don't listen to? I don't listen to like any marketing shows.
Oh, really?
I tend to.
That's actually surprising for someone in
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah. Not because I don't think they have information I could use, but like I think a lot of marketers are just insufferable people, myself included. Like
Yeah, that's funny.
if I never hear Alex Hormozy talk another word in my life, I will be happy.
Wow. Okay.
All respect due to him.
Yeah.
It's something about the way those guys talk just does not resonate with me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love
Weird.
Alex
I like Simon Sinek. He's cool. He's
Yeah, I like
actually,
Simon
yeah.
Sinek. Well, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to leave the audience with?
You mind if I plug my event,
Let's do it.
fundraiser? Okay, so June 20th, if you're around, June 19th and 20th. The 20th will be a little more relevant for you if you don't train. We are having a We Defy Foundation super fight card on June 20th on board the battleship, the USS New Jersey.
cool.
Yeah, which is parked right in the Delaware River off of Camden, New Jersey. So if you are in that area, and you're a jiu-jitsu fan, or if you are not a jiu-jitsu fan, I am making the card along with my friend Zach Maslany, who runs Finishers Sub Only, one of the top regional organizations in the country. We are matchmaking that card specifically with matches that are going to be entertaining to people who train jiu-jitsu and people who do not train jiu-jitsu.
Interesting.
So we want you to be able to show up to this, and you have no idea what jiu-jitsu is. We're going to show you a showcase of it. We have some of the top athletes in the world that we are booking. A lot of our friends and the people that are coming. They are. We got people flying in. We got whatever. This whole card is a fundraiser for the foundation. I'm making zero money doing this. Zach's making zero money doing this. Nobody is making any money. Every ticket sale, 100% of that is going to the We Defy Foundation to help get combat veterans into jiu-jitsu. If you do train, June 19th, we're also going to be on the battleship doing a jiu-jitsu seminar. Right now, we have 3 instructors. By the time this comes out, they will be announced. Amanda Levy, one of the top, we're just one of the top athletes in the past, 10 years at this point. She's 2-0 in the PFL. Actually, crazy story. She had, a medical condition, couldn't do MMA anymore. She transitioned to jiu-jitsu, made it to ADCC Worlds. Crazy.
Wow.
Kevin Dantzler, who is about to fight about to compete against Mikey Musumeci, who that name probably means nothing to you, but if you like jiu-jitsu, he's basically the top guy in the sport. Kevin is on the main event of UFC BJJ going against Mikey at the end of May. He will be one of our instructors. And then we have John Thor Blank, IBJJF Nogi Pans winner, ADCC Worlds this year, won ADCC East Coast Trials, absolute stud. So those are our 3 instructors. We have a 4th one that's going to be announced a little closer to the event, little nice. Surprise. Yeah, so that's going to be awesome. So that is June 19th and 20th, USS New Jersey, Camden, New Jersey. Please, we'll have tickets up for sale May 8th, which I believe this will come out afterwards.
Yeah,
okay.
Probably right after.
Yeah. So we'll have tickets for sale May 8th. Again, I would not plug it this much if it was just for me. This is for the organization. It's going to be a great time. Come learn about jiu-jitsu. See what we do.
Can anybody go? Or is it veterans only? Okay.
Nope. Anybody is welcome to come. Please come. Bring your kids. Bring your mom. Bring your dog. I don't know if you're allowed. I actually don't know if you're allowed to.
Dogs.
I don't know if you're allowed to bring your dog on the ship. You might. I don't know. I'll check. Tell you what. Send me a DM. Ask about the dog.
Awesome. How can people get a hold of you?
I'm pretty active on Instagram. You can either personal is Sean. I'm sure we'll link it, but Sean Robichaud, but my name's spelled different. It's spelled SHOW because people don't speak French and they can't say my name.
Yes.
But if you're interested in jiu-jitsu, you can follow People Doing Martial Arts. That's my like jiu-jitsu photography and content page. So if you like photography and like jiu-jitsu, it's a good fun follow.
Yeah, cool, man. I appreciate you. As usual, we'll drop that all in the show notes. I really appreciate your time.
Dude,
I really appreciate your wisdom. If you know the drill, my friends, and I know I say that at the end of every single episode. However, it would really mean a lot if you would like, subscribe, share this with people who you think could benefit. If you know someone who's transitioning out of the military or who has transitioned out of the military, maybe is struggling or maybe even not, just go ahead and send this to them. Maybe it would be something that resonates. If you have any feedback at all, please drop it into the comments. This is how we get better. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we're constantly changing things up, trying to see what works, trying to see what can make this a better podcast and serve this community to a higher level. I appreciate y'all, and I hope you have a good time.